Hey everybody, welcome back to MOTOVLOG. I'm Jeff.
I'm Alex.
And today is a little different. So before we start this video, we want to touch on something. After light of recent events, which we will get into in another video, which will probably come out way later after this, which will all make sense, and talking with Alex, we've decided to create, well, have creative influence of 50-50. The reason for that is, going forward with the channel, it's going to be a lot easier to divide and conquer, and it'll give us a chance that if he's out on his own, he can interview somebody. If I'm out alone, I can interview somebody, and really just kind of make it easier, so everything kind of doesn't fall on my lap, if you will. So today's video is going to be a little different, and he's going to tell you why.
Well, as he just said, I'm getting a little bit more creative influence in the channel. And that being said, I'm going to be starting out with an interview of the creator of the show.
Hey everybody. So I think kind of to segue this, we're scraping the bottom of the barrel for content, but we were trying to figure out who to interview. We've had some people lined up. And the real big thing is, he jokingly said it to me the other day, well, you still haven't gotten an interview. And I never really thought about it. So I said, hey, why the hell not? So what better way to break the ice than to have this man interview me for the channel? Mm-hmm. So, kick this thing off. It's all you, buddy.
So, let's start this out with what got you into riding?
The movie Easy Rider. The reason I say that is I've watched it, I couldn't tell you how many times, and the big thing for me with the movie was that sense of freedom. And there was a time in my life where I was married, got divorced, and the only time anything really ever made sense was being on a bike where, and we've talked about this before in private time, where for whatever reason, for me, for you, and for a lot of us, when I am out riding, nothing else matters. It's just me, the bike, and the road, and I don't have to think about what's going on. It's just the immediate. So I would say that Easy Rider got me into it, and that with going forward, it was kind of one of those things that it helped me kind of just clear my head.
Alright, well that brings me to my next question. How long have you been riding?
About 9 years. So I got my motorcycle license when I was 21. I had ridden before that, and it was just kind of one of those things that it was right time, right place. I was talking to a friend of mine, Mark, who we were hoping to get on the channel at some point, and he had his permit, and he was kind of just poking at me, come on, get it, and we decided on I think a Wednesday, they were going to go take the course, and I had my permit already. We went, took the safety course, and I walked out of the safety course with my motorcycle license. But then it was about 2 years after that that I got my first bike. And I think since then, it's been maybe 3 weeks that I've not owned a motorcycle. Everything since, I've always had a bike for the last 7 years.
So touching on that, obviously you had to have started out on something.
I did.
So what bike did you start out with originally, and what was in between leading up to the bike you now have, which is this beautiful machine behind me?
My first bike was a 2001 Sportster 1200 Custom, and I bought it from a female. So yes, I owned a Skirtster. Now, that being said, when I bought the bike, it was pretty much bone stock except a set of, I'm going to say it was a set of slip-ons. They were kind of like drag pipes, and I bought the bike in October of 2014. The winter of 2015, so 14 into 15, we had what we call Snowmageddon. We all worked around the clock, and I saved my pennies and ended up putting a Thunderheader and SNS Super E carb, drag bars, LaPera seat, and that was that first rendition of it. and then I redid it with a set of stock mini 8s from Harley that I got for free. Had the bars redone. I did the Deuce style lenses all the way around, smoke tail light, and that was about it. The next bike I owned was actually at the same time as the Sportster. It was in the spring of 2016. I purchased a 95 Road King, and that bike lasted me all of 16. Ended up selling both, and I went with a 2007 Dyna Super Glide Custom. And after having that bike, the first rendition of it was a Thunderheader with an Arlen Ness intake and a Mustang seat, which was my first Mustang seat, and Big Al bars. The second rendition of that bike, I kept the exhaust, kept the intake, put on Dyna Lowrider wheels, Lucky Dave seat, Lucky Dave's bars, Harley quarter fairing, Plex audio, Moon's MC taillight, leather pro bags, and Harley LED mirrors with the turn signals in them. I rode that for about a year in that configuration. Sold it, and then I bought this bike, and the first year I had it, I think all as I did was the stereo and the bars, and then the end of 20, I bought Legend suspension, kept them in the box, and when it went to the shop, I had the suspension done. We did the pipe, we did the front wheel, the Mustang seat, the Mustang backrest, hand guards, intake, power commander, custom dynamic lighting, and that's about it. And yeah.
Well, now that we touched on a little bit about how long you've been riding, some of the bikes you've been riding, what are some of your favorite rides to do?
So there's a road by us called Route 28. Now, I have ridden 28 from where it starts in the Cape all the way to Bridgewater Center. I have ridden past that on 28 before, but one of my goals was to actually ride 28 in its entirety whenever that happens. And then, so 28 from, say, Bridgewater to the Cape, and at that I would say the Cape Cod Railroad Bridge is definitely one of my hands down, one of my favorite rides. It's really beautiful, it's got some twists, some curves, and it's one of those rides where I can kind of just sit back, ride, and clear my head. The other ride I would say is Route 105, start to finish, and I'll actually do those back to back. I can't forget about the Kangamangas. That ride is just, I don't know, the mountains do something to me, man. You know, you're riding these mountain roads, you look out, you see how big these trees are next to you, and when you see these giant trees off in the distance, you realize how small you are in the world. I'm sure there's a bunch of rides that I'm forgetting that I've done that I've enjoyed. I know out to P-Town, Route 6A, that's a really phenomenal ride. But I would say 28 and 105 are my top two, and any ride can be a great ride with the right song or the right temperature, the right breeze, just 100 things can make it amazing.
And being that we ride together, some of these rides I've gone on, and a lot of them speak to me too. But what my next question is, touching on earlier's somewhat question, how did you come up with the original idea for the Hockomock MOTOVLOG, being the founder?
Wow. So listening to the Fast Life podcast, Five Dirty Bikers, Between Two Wheels, I love listening to those guys, especially the Fast Life Garage with Jace. He gets a lot of top guys from the industry. He's able to sit down and interview, whether it's Dave from Lucky Dave's, the Ness boys from Arlen Ness, Steve Chamberlain, Big Wheel Cody B, you know, a lot of these top names. It's great to hear what these guys have to say. However, I want the little guy, me, you, the guy up the street that rides a Road King and he's been riding for 50 or 60 years. I want to hear normal, everyday, average Joe, not the biggest YouTube star in the world, but somebody who does it because they're passionate about it. And I hate to say that they're the backbone of the motorcycling world, but we are. We're the ones who go to work, whether you're a truck driver, whether you work for a railroad, whether you are in an office, whatever your job may be. We go to work every day to buy these parts, to buy these bikes.
To keep the industry going.
Right. You know, $1,100 for a Mustang seat, money doesn't grow on trees. I had to give up a portion of my life in time to get paid to get that seat or to get those bars or that exhaust. So I really want to hear from, when I started out, I wanted to hear from the everyday people or person that rides and really hear about their experiences and the roads they like and what they've done to their bike. Because I feel like no matter where you go, whether they're on a sport bike, a Harley, a metric cruiser, whatever it may be, we all have a common ground where this is what we all share a passion for. And I've ridden with sport bikes, I've ridden with metric cruisers, I've ridden with other Harleys. To me, it doesn't matter what you ride, it's that you ride. A very good friend of mine, his father rides a Goldwing. That guy puts me to shame with what he does for rides. Another one of my friends, he rides a Sportster. It's still a great bike. There's different strokes for different folks. I guess that's how I want to leave that.
And all very great words of wisdom, if you will. So here comes my next question. Me being now a 50-50 creative ideal for this page,
yep.
Where do you see us taking this page?
Pinky in the brain, pinky in the brain. No, in all seriousness, we're not going to take over the world. However, ideally, I would like to go out and interview more everyday people, whether it's here, Daytona Beach at the rally, Sturgis, Laconia. I think a big thing for us is to do this is sit in front of the camera. Anybody can be a keyboard warrior, but to get out to actually do this, it takes a lot. I'd like to start to travel more, which we've talked about in previous videos with other rides, and I'd like to go and find people along the road and sit down and talk with them and hear what they have to say and really kind of get their stories out there. Because I touched on it a little earlier, I'd love to find the guy that's 68 years old and he's been riding for the last 50 years, and his first bike was a 1972 Yamaha something, and now he's on a CVO. I'd love to hear from him and some of his stories about riding and going places, and hey, this one time we got caught in this absolute monsoon coming home from Laconia, back when Laconia was a real biker rally, and just kind of where they go with it. So I think ideally where I'd like to see the channel go is with you being a 50-50 content creator now, where you can go out, interview people. Maybe you find somebody that I don't. Maybe you're out riding when I'm not because I have something going on, or vice versa, where we can get these really interesting people on the channel and get their story told to the world. And hopefully, somebody watches this video and goes, oh wow, that's a really cool, that old guy, oh wow. And nothing wrong with old guys or even old women. I would love to talk to women who ride. I think, they're up and coming in the industry, and I think now that we're in 2021, a lot of things have changed. But realistically, whoever it is riding, I'd love to get their story. So in 25 years, their great grandkid, they tell their great grandkids, oh, the Hockomock MOTOVLOG, go look it on that YouTube, and they can find their grandparents 20 years ago doing an interview with us.
And just telling their whole story about their passion for the ride.
Exactly.
So, I don't think we're going to really go much further with it.
Okay.
So, pretty much, it's been very great getting to know the creator.
Yeah, it's been great being interviewed.
And hopefully we'll be able to get a lot more videos out.
Yeah. It's definitely weird being on this side of the chair for once.
And it's very weird being on this side.
Yeah.
Obviously, need to practice.
Hey,
who better than to practice with?
Oh man, that could go so many different ways. So many sexual innuendos. I'm okay with it.
Oh,
My name is
this
Jeff.
Weird. Yes, his name is Jeff. So, I think we're gonna call it for the day.
Yeah, definitely.
So, don't forget, like, comment, subscribe.
That bell notification will let you know when we upload something.
And you may see him, you may see me, you may never know.
Yeah.
You never know where we'll end up. So, it's been great. And remember,
Keep the rubber down and shiny up. Until the next time. Peace.